Our first set of lectures contains a lot of information. On the screen, you'll see a slide titled Europe on the Eve of Expansion. You might be wondering why a U.S. history course begins with European history. The answer lies in understanding that the United States emerged from European cultural roots. We need to understand that the existence of the United States is a direct consequence of developments in Europe, which began centuries before the founding of the U.S. This perspective helps us comprehend the origins of the United States, emphasizing that it didn't just spontaneously appear. Where should we start in such a broad historical context? History flows like a river, and we must choose an entry point. For our purposes, we will begin with a specific timeline, the Western History Timeline. This timeline focuses on events in Western Europe and the Americas. Other parts of the world follow different timelines, but we concentrate on Western Europe because it's the cradle of ideas that shape the United States. In Western history, we categorize three main periods: classical, medieval, and modern. Commonly, modern might be mistaken to mean the present day. However, in academic terms, modern refers to the period starting around 1500 and lasting until the mid-20th century. We currently reside in what is termed the postmodern period. The classical era includes ancient civilizations like the Greeks, Romans, and Egyptians. We demarcate the end of the classical period in 476 AD, Anno Domini, or CE, Common Era. The choice between AD and CE often hinges on the desire to avoid Christian implications, with CE being a more neutral term. Why choose 476 as a marker? This year saw Rome sacked by barbarians, an event that symbolically represents a transition. However, Rome had been sacked before and would be again. The year 476 serves as a convenient historical marker rather than a definitive moment of change. If you were a Roman in 476, you wouldn't suddenly realize you'd entered the medieval period. Historical transitions are often only clear in retrospect. Note that the medieval period is referred to using different names: the Christian era and the Dark Ages. Why are these years called the Middle Years? Middle of what? The West did not begin to think of these years as a distinct period until what we call the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment began in the 17th century and was a reaction against the ancient order. During the Middle Ages, Europe was dominated by the Church, which is why we call these years the Christian era. To Enlightenment thinkers, Christianity was superstition, and the years of Christian domination were regarded by them as dark. So the medieval, according to Enlightenment thinkers, was a middle age of darkness between two ages of enlightenment, the classical period and the new secular era being created by the Enlightenment thinkers. Also notice the two illustrations on this page. In the upper left is a sketch of the Parthenon in Athens, which was constructed in the 5th century BCE, obviously during the classical period. On the lower right, we see a photo of the United States Supreme Court, which was built in the 20th century. Although separated by thousands of years, the two buildings look almost identical. Why? The style of the Supreme Court building is called neoclassical. Using this style deliberately calls to mind ancient Athens, which was known for democracy, law, and reason. The United States, a young nation, aligns itself with a deep historical past it doesn't really have. Why? The answer is to be found in the identification Americans created for themselves. It becomes the basis for American nationalism, which will be one of the themes we will pursue as we proceed through the course. Now let's address a common misconception about history, that it's merely about memorizing names and dates. This approach, often emphasized in high school, misses the essence of historical understanding. It's not about storing dates in your memory, especially in an age where any fact is readily available online. What matters is comprehending the sequence and relationship of events. For instance, knowing that the fall of the Roman Empire in 476 precedes the French Revolution in 1789 is more significant than memorizing these dates. Understanding the flow and connections in history is what truly enriches our comprehension of the past. Please answer the questions for this session under the assignment in Canvas. If you have any questions, you may post them in the open forum discussion or use Canvas email to contact the professor.